morning and welcome back to the Friday edition, thank God, of Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and disembodied hands Quindy, the not ever present but sometimes here Justin and John, and the really plopped out Kiki. It's going to be 89 here today, so she is already, like, I closed up the house because we have no AC. So the only way to keep the house cool is to close it up and not allow the hot air in. So Kiki's already, she actually got to play with one of her dog friends in the park this morning though. So she was long tongue when I came out to give her breakfast. Kiki would melt. It may be that time, because when it gets this hot out, it usually gets about 181, 82 in the house here, and it's a challenge to cool the house down in time for the next day when it stays hot for long periods like this. So we may have to whip out the AC for the bedroom. She's got long fur, Pendrake. The plushes, the part of the reason I always liked having the smooth coats, Shiloh's in Texas, is that the plush coat don't do as well in the hot. Like, they can tolerate it if you acclimate to it. Like, Kiki will go for her walk, but she'll be pretty hot and ready to get home by the end of it today, I bet. Because yesterday it was already 3 or 4 degrees hotter than it usually is on our walk, and today it's going to be another 3 or 4 degrees hotter than it usually is on our walk. It'll probably already be 78 by the time we go for our walk, almost 80. For a long-coated dog, it's a lot. Especially when she's had a nice, really cool, Shiloh Shepherds in general are snow dogs. Like I said, the plush can do okay in the heat, but they usually become AC-seeking missiles in the heat. So just like we are, or some of us anyway. But yeah, so she just is not going to want to do anything. That's why we're actually going to take her to the ocean tomorrow morning. It'll be much cooler at the ocean side, so we'll take her to the big beach that is dog friendly and see how she does. It's essentially become just a big, huge beach dog park. Because it has, like, cliffs at either end to hem it in. So you have to bring water in. But otherwise, it's just a bunch of dogs running around on a beach with the ocean. So she should hopefully have fun for that tomorrow. And then when we get her back, this is why I don't know if I'm going to be streaming tomorrow. It's like after we come back from Fort Funston, we are going to be giving her a bath since we're going to be traveling. And finding a new groomer is always kind of a travesty. Like, you have to kind of like just try a whole bunch. And I don't know, apparently a lot of the groomers out here are short-staffed. And when I was reading reviews yesterday, there were a lot of complaints. And so I was like, you know what? I don't have time to like read through and really choose a new groomer for Kiki. So we're just going to give her a bath ourselves for this last time. I would have liked to get her professionally groomed before we went to Seattle, but it is what it is. But yeah, Kiki is a snow dog who never sees snow. That's why I'm hoping that in November when we're in Colorado, we'll actually get a little snow. Alrighty, Mellonir. Yeah, I remember you. That's right, I was doing the white. I was pretty happy with the white last time. And I was thinking more and more about giving him white hair. We could try something else. Let's go with a reddish. We could make this a green, orange, purple muted color scheme if we went with nut brown for the leather. Because the nut brown has a purple. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, from spray, even if she doesn't play in it, Pendrake. Exactly. So I figured that was a good. Plus, it's going to be over 90 here tomorrow, like 90, 92 or 93. And that's a pretty good time to take your dog outside for a hose bath. And hose bath is so much faster. I always wish that my tubs when I have dogs had spray attachments, but they never seem to. So I might be able to go with kind of a strawberry blonde color for his hair if I go for a nut brown with some purple shadows for the leather. So let's do that, and let's look for, hey, where is my, oh no, is my Kraken purple in the other room? It might be. Crap. Let me just take a quick scan. Yeah, I think it is. Hold on while I get my Kraken purple. 1 second. Hi, Bubba. I'm not going to do a snow base on this one. I don't feel it. I generally am not a fan of snow bases because they're difficult to do well and they don't fit very many models I paint. So we're going to use Kraken ink. Although now I'm thinking Kraken ink might be canceled, right, if we don't get any more fast palettes. But anyway, you could use any dark purple with this, not brown. So I'm going to take the brown kind of down purpley and maybe even bring it up a little bit of reddish. We'll see what I want to do. But we're muting on this one, so I may just bring it up with some white. And I'm going to drop everything today because it's Friday. Yay, Friday! Ugh. I managed to survive my second CrossFit class last night. I now have to assume that it is not a fluke that I survived the first one. And I'm down a pound this morning, which is nice. Because all the weight training, the side effect of the weight training should be that I build my metabolism up. Because making more mitochondria in your muscles tends to make your metabolism go up. Also, I've officially, David had to kind of roll his eyes at me yesterday because I went to the store to get whey protein powder, which is something I swore I would never. I used to look at it in the weight training section, and I still do roll my eyes at much of the fitness additives section, because of course everything there is all with all this other stuff added, and I'm just like, all I want is freaking protein powder. Can you just give me protein powder? Just protein powder? Apparently that's a hard ask these days. But yeah, so I actually bought some because it's hard to, it's you're supposed to have a little bit extra protein when you weight train, but I really don't have any room in my diet to throw more protein in it. I don't want to eat a lot of animal protein, so I got my protein powder. I'm going to make smoothies. And please don't cancel us, Fat Pat. That would be fantastic, and I need to suggest that. That needs to be suggested for April Fools next year. So please don't cancel us, Fast Palette. I could pick out the appropriate. Death Knight Black, Kraken Ink. What other ones, guys? What other ones are in the hashtag? Please don't cancel us, Fast Palette. Nod Bone. Yeah, great minds think alike, Agent Marvel. So hold on. DK Black. Kraken Ink. Nod Bone. Anything else? Right, yeah, and I don't want it necessarily to taste better because I'm just gonna put it in soy milk with some frozen fruit ground up in it. Shark Bite. Okay, you like Shark Bite? Is Storm Chaser or is Storm Chaser blue? Meadow Green is already in release, Pendrake. You can buy it normally. I want to say, do we still have the Dungeon Dweller stuff though, Quindy? Are we still okay on these? Or are those going out too? Yeah, Storm Chaser Blue. Although, honestly, well, yeah, I mean, Hobgoblin Blue isn't okay. It's similar, but I think I'm going to say Storm Chaser. Because Storm Chaser Blue plus Elven Green make an amazing black teal or dark teal. I'm about to try it on my Tyranids. Hey, Slayer. I don't remember what one Kiriniko was sad about. Oh, okay. Still exists for the moment. I'm going to say Necromancer Purple. Even though we have other colors that are like it, I kind of feel it. I kind of liked it. I used it. It was good. But I don't know. We'll leave that last slot open. The hashtag please don't cancel us triad. Hold on. Hashtag please. Oh, Rogue Shadow. Hopefully that stays in. Please don't cancel us triad. Or pass palette. Sorry. There. Griffin Tan was an old HD Pendrake. However, Griffin Golden Brown, well, no, that's yeah, it is a fast palette color. Griffin Golden Brown. I'm going to write them all down. Well, that's in Adventure Colors. Yeah, Rogue Shadow's a good color. I mean, it's essentially the replacement for Redliner. So I've got 7 colors here, but that means I can toss one out, depending on what is actually, like, kicked to the curb and what isn't. But DK Black and Gnawed Bone for sure from the Glooming Grave. And maybe Necromancer, and maybe people don't... They have a close one to that now, Roger. I don't remember. Yeah, Redliner's been gone for a long time, Pendrake. They made a color that was close to Peacock. I don't remember which one it was. Peacock was just an annoying color to mix. It was my most hated color to mix. Number 1 most hated color to mix, for sure. So I started trying out my first... I got a little tiny time to paint last night after all my class and stuff, and I put like a base coat and a wash on my first Tyranid, and I've decided I'm going to have to do like 4 different termagants in 4 different color schemes to figure out which one I like the best. David was very, very dubious about my color shift commentary. I'm going to prove him wrong. I believe that color shift belongs on Tyranids. Yeah, that's right. Basilisk. Thank you, Carrie Michael. Yeah, I knew they had made something that was really close to Peacock. And if you want, you even can make Peacock if you grab some clear blue and you put a little bit of it into brilliant green, you can get really close. So it's not like Peacock. Peacock is not a hard color to approximate. It was a pain to mix because I had to balance the blue and yellow pigments that made the base up. And they were very hard to balance because the blue was so high diffusion. And you had to hit it perfectly. And it was just a very, very hard. Whenever a base, that Peacock Green had 3 different bases mixed together as its base. And when you go there, you make it very hard for yourself. I'm going to go and drop a little bit of this. I've got my Kraken ink in my nut brown here. I'm actually going to grab some of this Kraken ink and put it into the nut brown. Kind of make it a little darker. And a little purpler. There we go. So we'll start with that. But yeah, so I'm trying to mess around with various shades of indigo and teal with my Tyranids. So last night it was, so if you ever take Moonstone Blue and you put a wash of Night Sky Indigo, a heavy wash of Night Sky Indigo, this is how it looks. That's how nice of a wash you can get out of MSP, by the way, because you can get a nice smooth wash. And that is a 2 drops of paint, 4 drops of sealer, 2 drops of water mixture. And it outlines everything nicely. But it's a little dark. I started popping some teal in on the other side. You can see where my teal is coming in. And then the carapace stuff is going to be all very dark. But I have to figure that out. So I'm looking at different teals and indigos for my little nids, which means I need to build 3 other ones so that I can try everybody. Yeah, it is pretty. I'm pretty happy with the way the teal goes over the top of the indigo. It's just that this was like, I wanted to do a really light wash Quindy, but I also wanted everything outlined and shaded. And so I decided to go with a darker wash, even though I knew it was going to color everything. So I'm not sure how light I can get with this. And I did want the skin to come up a lot. I don't want to make a lot of work for myself, but I still want to have the shadows right. So I'm going to try another one with the same base coat, the Moonstone Blue, and then make the wash in traditional, which is 1 drop of paint, 4 drops of sealer, 2 drops of water, and see, because that's going to be a much lighter wash. It's going to leave the base color a lot lighter, and I want to see how that looks. Like, this is the kind of futzing I'm doing to come up with something that I like. And it may well be, because I have personally always thought that it made sense for Tyranids to have a lot of variation within their groups anyway, because they all eat different stuff. And they are what they eat, literally. So if I have to do like 4 different units of Hormagaunts with all different, slightly different color schemes, I'll do that. I don't mind. You can do an army with different colors in it as long as you make the basing consistent. It's how you make an Eldar Craft World army look good too. And I did it on my old Wood Elf army because I had different units be different seasons. I was a very noob painter back then as far as it went, but the way to do that, if you really want to like mix it up with your army and still have the army look cohesive, is to make the basing the same. So we're going to go with this kind of more purpley brown. It is more of a reddish brown too. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to mute it out just because our green is so faded, and it's reading even more vibrant than anything else here. So, but we'll keep going with it. I'm going to shade it with more purple, more Kraken ink. Hey, Anara, we were making a hashtag please don't cancel us fast palette. So we've got, I've got some candidates here that might go the way of the dodo. So do you have anything to add? Since the surf and turf fast palette is endangered, soon to be extinct. I know you have opinions. That's why I wanted to ask you. You are knowledgeable, and you have the things you like. But yeah, I decided to use MSP for my Tyranids. Although I am going to be doing, one thing I do like the GW contrast paint for is glazing. Though I have to get more contrast medium because I've used a lot of mine. But I was thinking to intensify the color on the carapaces, I was going to do some glazing. I want to have pretty bugs. That's what it comes down to. We don't know, Agent Marvel. We don't know. Well, that was what I did. That was what I managed to prevent for years, right, Zachariah? I went to bat against Ed every time, but there came a point where he just overruled me. And, you know, at that point there was nothing I could do. I mean, I could argue for it for a decade. I managed to keep you guys free from cancellations, so you can thank me for that. But now it's all up to the powers that be. So we have to jokingly make provision for it. So yeah, it was like, we don't know about the other fast palettes. I suspect that sales just don't, like, you can have these fast palettes, but if you don't tell people how to use them and you don't like advertise them, you just kind of sit them out there and let people kind of discover them, then it's hard to move them in quantities that rationalize the work to keep them stocked and the space. So it's probable, like I said, Reaper never cancels anything unless it's absolutely not moving. Like, they do cost analysis and sale numbers. Yeah, I mean, inks are shrug. I like the contrast paints. They both have their things. Like the Dale Rowney inks are very useful if you need pure pigments or something close to it. I find my husband uses the Dale Rowney inks a lot, mostly because I mean it's cheaper than contrast paint. But the contrast paint is really good for glazing for some of the colors. I like their dark red. All right, we're gonna make the bracers this color too. We can alternate colors on the leather, and I may go for a blue-black leather for the belts to make them stand out. But the actual like clothing and armor, I think I'm going to go with this brown. And I like it so far. It's a good color for him. I don't even use it for a base coat. I just use it for a glaze because I don't like the finish on the contrast paints at all. And it's not worth it for me to mess with it. I can do red is my favorite color to paint, and I have a system, so I'm like impatient with anything else. But if you thin that stuff down, that color, it makes a fantastic glaze. When you want to really just intensify your reds and give it just a little bit of a deep pop at the end. Yeah. But yeah, the only problem with contrast paint, of course, is that they're charging you an arm and a leg for it. So I was very selective when I set out to kind of try it, as far as just getting a few colors that I thought might be useful. But then I did tests with it, and I really dislike it, except for that glazing. With the glazing, I can add some matting agent and like tune it pretty well. So I don't use contrast paints as other people do. I don't need them. I just feel like they actually add extra steps for me. But that's all like just style, right? You get in a rhythm with the products that make sense to you for your painting style, and that's what you should go with. Like if they work for you, use them. For me, they're not a must-have. They're could be fun. Depends on, the model. But yeah. And I won't necessarily mind the finish when I do the glaze over the top of the nid carapaces, because I'm planning on using a little bit of metallic or pearlescent or color shift. So at that point, I'm just looking to give kind of a color filter glaze over the top of that and see what happens. So. Yeah. I think Monster Colors is still out, though, isn't it? Yeah, it does discourage repurchasing. Exactly. Well, actually, Pendrake, I already did that. I already painted an entire model with the Gloom Engrave. If you remember, the Necromancer guy that we did last year. I already did an entire model with the Gloom Engrave. The thing about the High Seas Horror, though, is that it's not as wide of a selection. Like, I could mix a lot. I could do a lot with the selection of colors in Gloom Engrave. That High Seas Horror isn't quite as versatile. So, yeah. Yep. Necromancer was all Gloom Engrave. There was no other colors on him. That was all I used. Was all the colors in Gloom Engrave. And I think I used white at the end. Just because the Gnawed Bone was the lightest color and I needed to do highlights. Yeah, I agree, Quindy. I mean, Privateer Press found that out when they first released their paint line, that it was only in sets. And they just took nothing but flack until they finally made it available in single bottles. I just don't understand why, like, after the initial release, after you've gotten your money from the initial release, when the people are like, new colors, I want all of them, and they're going to buy the box. But at 3 to 6 months after that, put it out in singles. You've got it in singles because you have to build those sets, so you've got bins of it. So that's what I never understood. It's kind of like the whole thing, like, it's the reverse in books, where once West of the Moon is out, I will eventually release a box set, a digital box set. I don't know if I'll do a physical box set, but a digital box set with both books in it. But you don't do that right away. You wait. you give the book a chance to sell on its own first, and then when you're ready to release book 3, then you put out the box set of the first 2 books to make it easier for people to get into the series. And with paint, it's the opposite, right? Because like you said, you want to enable reordering of the color from the set, because there'll always be one color that you just like glom onto and love. you want to be able to order extras of that. For me, that was Crake and Ink or Gnawed Bone. I'm kind of sad because my Gnawed Bone is like half gone, and I'm like, well, I had to figure out a replacement for this color now. Yeah, Quindy, yeah. Exactly, yep. All right, so I've got boots and arm guards and the belt here. I'm going to leave the scabbard for now because I want to have the option. This is also a good wood color, so I think I'm going to actually use it on the bow as well. And then what I'll do is I'll highlight it differently to bring the color up differently. But it's definitely a good wood color, so... But yeah, the Gnawed Bone, like that, just those warm cream colors. The warm cream color is one of the most like must have, like it just, you got to reach for it. Like it's one of those things that you've got to have in a line. And this is where I always wanted, when we were doing cancellations, I always wanted to be in on them, because otherwise you cancel just based on sales and you don't cancel based on somewhat also on utility. You'll get rid of a lot of colors that, you know, just are extraneous, but you'll also get rid of a couple colors that are really functional, where if you just would, like, put a little effort into, oh, I've got a mold line there. Got to take that off. A little bit of a mold line there on top of the bow I need to deal with. Well, that's what they do, Pendrake, but we don't... Okay, so at least in my day, and I tried to communicate this idea to everybody so that it became a thing, but it is not fair to charge you again for a color that is the same and just named different. So when the colors come out, this is why Basilisk Green is not exactly the same as Peacock Green. It's very close, very close. And you can use it in the same way. But you want to change the formula just a little so that it is something different. Otherwise, you're just ripping people off, and it's kind of false advertising, to be honest. So I feel it's false advertising. Yeah, I feel like we do have a decent number of off-whites, though. Like, Treasure Map is good, but I do feel like we have enough off-whites in the line that it's not as necessary. But I'll mark that down. I did like Treasure Map. I did think it was a good color. I would just want to put Treasure Map up against all of our other off-whites to see if it really fills a niche that can't be easily duped. Treasure Map. I'll put it on the list. Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty keen sense of like right and wrong painting Tentacle. It's one of my downfalls as well as one of my merits. And so I felt like I have that kind of integrity, like, and that like value of integrity. Like, I value that sort of thing, and so I wanted that sort of thing to be the way that, because I had pretty free reign in the paint department, but so the way that I conducted business, I had the freedom to say, no, we're not going to just put out, you know, pure white and put it under a different color name. We're going to actually change the formulation for all of the whites over all of our different sets, so that at least it is a little bit different, and all the blacks are different. The only time that I had to kind of go with something that was almost identical was when we do licensed sets, because obviously Besmara Black needs to be very close to pure black. It is the pure black equivalent for the Pathfinder set. And some people who are buying just Paizo and aren't concerned with Reaper products are, you know, I don't want to sell them Besmara Black if it's exactly the same as pure black, but it needs to be close enough because it is their pure black. So Besmara and pure are very, very close. But otherwise, when it came to different blacks and whites within the different paint lines at Reaper, I tried to make it a little different every time, because I just didn't want you guys to like be picking up a color because you thought it was new, except it really wasn't new. It was just this old color with a different name on it. Like, that bothers me. So it doesn't bother a lot of people. Like, not everybody has like a priority of like that where right and wrong matters so much to them, right? Like we all would like things to be fair and cool and equitable and all that. But some people really get up in arms about it, and some people just don't because they have other priorities elsewhere. And I'm one of those people who gets up in arms about it, so so it was all very important to me. But not necessarily important to everybody at Reaper, right? So it's, you do what you can, like, you do what you can to guide the ship, and this is true of everything in life. And I've also helped create and head up a nonprofit as well for our dog club. So I know this more than anything because I'm finally stepping back from that after years of running it and guiding it and doing most of the work for it. And there comes a day when you just have to take your hand off the wheel, right? And you just hope that you've instilled enough of your like values and ideas into the people who take over that they continue to run the ship more or less in the direction you were going. But you can't guarantee it. You can't control it. Like, Reaper is not my show. The paint department is not my show anymore. And what Reaper decides to do going forward is going to be Reaper's decision, not mine. And I'm okay with that. Like, that's the way it's got to be. Like, when I was younger, I might have railed against this, but it is the way. It's just the way. You don't live forever. You can't stay in one place forever. But it's not a re-release if the original product is already in the line. Yeah, or yes, if you're going to put out, yeah, I see what you're saying. So you're saying if we cancel Gnawed Bone, just put out a new Gnawed Bone. Just like they did with the HD paints that got ported over to Bones. And that, honestly, if Bones is going to be that line that catches the colors that you cancel and then you like get yelled at for, that would be a great place to put some of these fast palette colors. And maybe they will. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll try to keep Bones at a smaller line. That's the question, right? Painting Tentacle, Ed was actually moving on that pretty swiftly. Ed was actually moving on that pretty swiftly after I left. Like, even during my last days at Reaper, he was working with people to try to nail down that airbrush line. But as you may or may not know, Ed passed away over Thanksgiving last year. So I would say that because he's the idea guy there, I'm not sure where that airbrush line is now. It's in limbo. If somebody else takes up that banner and runs forward with it, I know he was getting close, but yeah, paints don't sell because people can't imagine how to use them. And that's why outreach is important, right? And this stream is somewhat about outreach. But again, this stream, if you don't advertise this stream and if you don't promote it, like, you get a limited number of new people picking up the stream, right? And it also is hard to make it an educational stream when we're mostly naming the episodes by color. We're not like breaking them down by subject matter or anything like that, right? So I could talk about how useful Gnawed Bone is on, 10% of the streams that we do. But unless you watch one of those streams, you're not going to get it. Which is why I try to do this stuff on my Patreon. Like, and probably I need to talk about the warm creams and how useful they are. I'm going to mix up some Rogue Shadow, speaking of liners. And paints that we don't want canceled. Anyone who works on it will meet their doom. That's cursed. It's cursed now. Yeah, it has more with you showing people. I mean, come on, y'all know you've run out and bought stuff after you watch some, maybe even not me, but somebody show you like how useful a paint is. A paint that you like never knew like might be cool, and then we use it, somebody uses it on stream and you're like, oh yeah, I see that now. And because all of us are changing, like, we change the colors that are our favorites through the years, sometimes through the months, sometimes through the days. I just need to put another coat on that. All right, now I need to line it. I'm going to bring the Rogue Shadow in here and Yeah, lantern yellow. Yeah, lantern yellow. I know. I'm always all over the lantern yellow, right, Moonglims? Right. And the thing is, and this is where we come down to the fact that I started my Patreon, right? So here's the dealio, right? Like, if I hadn't started my Patreon, maybe it would have been me doing videos for Reaper, right? That I started my Patreon, and I need my Patreon. Like, I would be dead in the water financially out here without the Patreon. It's kept me alive. It kept me alive all the way through the pandemic, and it is like, it's what I do, right? But that means that if I'm going to do a video content about why X color is good, I'm going to do it for my Patreon. Yes, and if you don't buy that moth green, Quindy is coming to your house. Yeah, and it's really just with over 700 videos now, or over 600. Like, it is way too many videos to go through and do all those tags. Like, nobody's going to do it. Nobody has that much oomph. Unless there's a fanatical fan that wants to, like, take on that project. Like, unless we find that fanatical fan, it ain't happening. Because it's just the kind of thing where it's a huge quality of life thing, but it's not at all urgent or necessary, strictly speaking, necessary. I think I'm going to use Kraken ink to shade a lot of my green as well, especially with olivey greens like this. Purple is a fantastic color to use to shade greens. $90.76. Actually, Deep Ocean is the next wash that I'm going to use on my Tyranids. I'm going to do some Tyranids with the Night Sky Indigo and some with the Deep Ocean, and then I'm going to use different Carapace colors, and then I'll put probably show people on the stream and ask which ones they like best. If I don't have a clear favorite by that point. Just doing a little bit of liner, just pattern there. Yeah, yep, yeah, yep. Yeah, there are a lot. There are two, like the Spectral Glow and the Phantom Glow and the Copper Verdigris. But the Copper Verdigris actually is a bit different. It's got more white in it. It's going to be heavier coverage. It needs to be for the effect, and it also is really based on that Copper Verdigris color. Whereas the other two are just nice highlight colors for green or blue, mostly blue, or an additional highlight on top of Surf Aqua. Like, I use them all at different times. I think if I had to pick a fave, like if I had to pick one, I think I would get rid of Spectral Glow and keep Phantom Glow. Phantom's a little bit greener, but Spectral Glow is nice with the Surf Aqua. So it's like, but you know, you could use any of them for what? So there's a lot. So we're gonna line around these, just wherever if I lost my lining as I put these colors on for the leather, then I'm gonna reline where I need to. But yeah, I think that Spectral Glow is the one of those that I use the least. Yeah, Phantom Glow I really like. Yeah, I've never been. You guys know I'm not into colored metallics. That was totally Sadie's game. I mean, they're a novelty, right? And you might use them on one project, but then what are you going to use them for after that? Like, the most useful, the time I used the most metallics is when I was actually painting dragons, because I like to put a metallic or demi-metallic highlight on dragon scales on top of the regular colors, because it just adds that little bit of extra interesting oomph. Chromatic dragons, not just metallic dragons, by the way. Like putting in the metallic red as a highlight on top of regular darker reds for red dragons. So if you're wondering what the color metallics can be good for, that's one thing. I've been doing that way back since my Wood Elves. My Forest Dragon had a lighter green metallic highlight on her scales. And back here in this gap, like there's stuff back here, but you can't really reach it or see what it is. You think it's part of the cape, but just honestly take your liner and just flood that area. You do not need to paint details that you can't even reach. Like, just flood it, just like that. Obviously, we've got that sword there, and we will paint the sword. Yeah. Well, metallics have their place, right? They're, like, we do use metallics every once in a while on figures. I really like using them on big figures. I think they're great. So, yeah, I was talking about contrast paints earlier because I was going to use... I think they're really good for glazes in Ara when you thin them. They have a nice like richness of pigment. I'd use them in place of like the Daler-Rowney inks, stuff like that. Although I think the inks are actually cheaper, but there are just some of the darker colors that I don't see in the Daler-Rowney inks that I do see in the contrast paints that I like. Most of I own like five contrast paints, and they're all like darks. They're all like shades. Because that's what I'm most likely to use them for. At least they're mostly skin. Like, trolls and ghouls, like, they may be wearing some rags, right? So it's not like they're super difficult to do a fast job on, right? Lots of skin is easy to do with washes. Or contrast, or whatever you're going to use. Then it's just, like, drying time. Depends on how nice you want them to look, of course. Alrighty, so I just wanted to line around that bow, make it come out a little bit more crisp. So now it's standing out nicely here. Need a little bit here. There, the lining is nice. And I probably need to figure out if I think I'm going to make these the leather that is holding the quiver on its back. I think I'm going to go with that kind of a blue-black. I'm going to go with my blue liner on this, I think. And then these little leaves are going to be metallic ornament or NMM. Yeah, I like that brown. So, all right, let's grab our blue liner and do the straps, which will give us a black, essentially. So now you can see kind of the dark, light, medium colors. I had to go with a darker color on here because I've got light here. Same here, obviously. So, and the brown is a little darker also than this lighter green. So that's good. It's about the same shade as this green, maybe a tiny bit darker. But now I'm going to go with blue liner and do essentially black on the straps, which is going to give us a true dark, to put everything else in perspective. But yeah, my little Tyranid needs to get more highlights on him so that I can bring him up to the point where I can see what I'm doing. And then he needs friends who are different colors. Mostly just trying to figure out if I want a heavy wash or a light wash on these Tyranids. And gaming models like the Tyranid is like, the Tyranids are the perfect place for washes, right? Like, I don't use them very often, but for the Nids, it makes so much sense because this is the kind of model you want to use a wash on because it's got so much little detail to fill in for you, and it helps guide your highlighting choices. Alrighty, let's see this blue liner. So like something actually like ghouls or trolls or zombies are another thing that I think are good for washes, right? Because it's mostly skin. It can save you a lot of time. even though I'm going back over and highlighting over the top of that skin, it's still like giving me, I'd have to do an awful lot of hand shading otherwise, and for gaming models I don't care as much. So let's get this blue liner going on. We'll start out with it fairly thick because I'm using it as a paint rather than a liner. So 4:1, maybe even we'll go 5:1. We'll see how it looks. I don't know if I'm going to be on tomorrow in our, we're taking Kiki to the ocean tomorrow morning, and then we're coming back and giving her a bath because ocean, and also because we need to give her a bath before our trip to Seattle next week. And after that, I don't know if I'm going to be, an hour in the car, out at the beach with the dog for half an hour to an hour, ride back, actually 45 minutes out, I guess, as long as we don't hit traffic. But, and then I come back and I have to give the dog a bath, and then I have to eat lunch. And then I'm like, do I really feel like streaming at that point? So I may be wanting to stream tomorrow, and if so, I'll probably be working. I don't know if I'll be working on the NIDS, because it depends on if I can get more put together. I may work on him a little bit, because I do want to get him, at least one side of him, painted to the game standard I would want, so that I can test the color scheme. But I also need to work on, if I stream, I also need to work on the floor with this lady. And making it more tight, because it's very, very blocked in right now. And I do want to finish that model. Yeah, and happily, this is the time I'm happy that it's cold at the beach out here. So when we take, because it's going to be over 90 tomorrow here in the Bay Area. And it'll be nice and cool at the beach for Kiki. Probably in the 60s. Maybe 70s. We'll see. It's usually significantly colder. Like, I always am shocked at how cold it is when you go by the ocean here. See, I just don't know if I'm gonna have any oomph after all that. I may want to just like chill for a bit. So we'll get the blue liner kind of going on here. Figure out, because that's very, very dark. Ah, yeah. Yeah, it's holiday weekend and stuff. Oh, I won't be doing that. I don't want to, I consider it boring, Pendrake. And these guys, they don't need a lot of assembly. Actually, you'll notice I haven't attached the gun arm to my Hormigaunt because it blocks too much stuff. So I sticky tacked the contact points so I can still use plastic cement once I have the paint done. And I'll pull that off and glue it. But yeah, I prefer to paint on stream. I don't like constructing things on stream. I mean, maybe when it comes to like one of the bigger models, but not with my little Hormigaunts. If it was the Hive Tyrant or the Carnifex, I could see it. Oh, look, the Hive Tyrant's pretty small in this set, actually. I wonder if they're going to start making the Hive Tyrants smaller so that they're harder to kill. Alrighty, so really dark there, finally giving us a real black on the model. And I'll just have to figure out what my accent color, if any, is going to be here. On the scabbard. But yeah, if you're not available, Quindy, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not going to be wanting to stream after doing all that stuff all morning and noon. I'm gonna want to eat. The problem is that if we get in late, or if the bathing Kiki takes a little while, or both, then I have to hurry my lunch, and I like to relax. That's one of my detox times, is to just relax and eat a relaxed lunch, no matter how much stress I'm under. It always helps with my day. So, and the other thing is, remember, I need to finish this edit on my book. Like, I am jumping into that. Yesterday, I organized all my notes, changes that I need to make and things I need to double check. And I did a little bit of find and replace with like words that I typically need to change, because I tend to use English spellings for some things, and I've gone to using American. But that takes find and replacing. Okay, so little straps there. So that gives us a dark. And I'll probably do the strap on the arm same way. Yeah. I haven't been able, I did actually nap yesterday, but it was the first time I'd been able to nap in a while. I kind of wonder if napping is, if I'm going to nap less now that I'm doing all these workouts. It has helped my energy level a lot. So that's nice. But the downside then is when your energy level is good, you don't necessarily need a nap. But I like my naps. I can hear all the banging out my window. My window is closed this morning, both because I have to keep the heat from getting in to the house, and because down the row, somebody, I don't know if they sold the house or if they're just doing all this remodel in order to sell the house, but a couple houses down the block toward the store, toward our grocery store, is they gutted, like, the only thing they left on this house was the facade. Like, that's it. Like, the front of the house and half of the sides is all they kept. And during the day when they've been working, they had the front door open, and you can see that inside, like, maybe one of the front walls is being kept. Everything else is just framing. Like, so you've got this house that's been completely gutted, except for its little facade. It looks like a normal house. Then you walk around to the side, and you see that they're extending the house back by almost as much as it was in the front. Like, they're essentially eating up most of the backyard on this house with further construction. And I have to believe that you're going to do that, put it up for sale, right? Because a lot of the houses, like the Eichlers in our neighborhood, like, they're only 1,100, 1,200 square feet houses. They were made to be little, small, like, single family, maybe with one or two kids, like that kind of house. Or they were originally built to be affordable housing for a family, for a new family. So they're smaller. But you can get a lot more money in this neighborhood if you've done a remodel. Like our house, they did do a remodel, and that's how we got our master bedroom and our big walk-in closet and our other bathroom, our really nice bathroom. So we have like over 1,500. I think it's 1,553 square feet, and our house is worth a lot more because of it. I loved watching this old house as a kid. Yeah, but these houses, essentially, what I'm seeing is that the house valuation the sale price goes way up if you have that remodel and you've put that much more square footage on it. Alrighty, and I'm going to leave the handle there because I might need that for an accent color. I might need that handle for an accent color, the hilt of the sword for an accent color, this for an accent color, and we'll see. I'm not convinced yet on accent color. I'm not convinced, but we'll see if we need something. Because right now, I'm actually pretty happy with going with the purpley reddish leather. I think that's looking really good. Yeah, the housing market in this neighborhood, Zechariah, is fueled by Google. And so there is demand for houses, but yeah, most of the people in a position to buy a house in this neighborhood are not going to be your new, your new guy at Google with just one kid and a wife, or, a single guy just, who's getting a roommate. It's going to be your leads, your management that have the money to buy in this neighborhood, and they have families, right? So they want a bigger house. At least they want a house that's not like tiny, like, 1,100, 1,200 square feet is a pretty small house. So yeah, the market is definitely that way. I just like the extra room here because obviously it lets me have my office. Yep. Yep. People fleeing California. Yep. I can't blame them in some ways. Like, my favorite thing about California is the weather. The weather and all the natural parks and stuff, national parks and stuff, all the parkland. There's a big emphasis on lots of green space preservation, and I really do like that. That I like a lot. Again, gonna put a heavy shadow under here. There's a little bit of unpainted stuff there. We're just gonna block it in. Yeah. Yeah, Texas is like that. Denton was getting to the point where when I was looking at moving, before David said that I should move in with him, I was thinking about moving to Sacramento. And the price of housing in Sacramento, of renting a house for me and Kiri, like the one that I had in Denton, which Denton was as expensive. Like, I could have gotten a rental house in Sacramento for the same price, roughly, that I was paying in Texas, in Denton, which was insane. And I imagine it's only gone up since then. Except that they don't, like, we had lots of wildfires the year I moved Pendrake. And it was definitely smoky. Like, there was a day I went out and everything was orange pink because the haze in the atmosphere was tinting everything orange pink as the sun came through it. So there was definitely air quality issues, but it's not all year round, right? And we got enough rain this year that so far it's doing okay. Like, we haven't had any wildfires here. Not anywhere within distance of where I am. And you know what? I hate to say this, but I will take wildfires any year over tornadoes and severe storms. Given I don't have a house in the forest, but... Yeah, Zachariah. Yeah, Canada's having troubles, right? Yep. It moves. I mean, there are some years I remember when, like, Colorado and all around that area was having severe fires back when post-college. For me, there was a point where they were like, and the entire area around Colorado is on fire. And then remember a few years ago, or several years ago, when it was Washington State. Jason Wiebe was having a lot of smoke and stuff where they were. So it goes around. A little bit of lining here. Got to get Kiki out for her walk right at the end of stream. It's going to get hot. She will not enjoy it, but it's her walk and she's used to taking it. So, all right, so we blocked in some darks where we needed them, where we aren't really going to be able to get paint in there. That's good. A little bit of lining back here. All right, now I need a black back here on the back of the quiver. I'm so happy with my fiber optic, by the way. I was uploading my video yesterday to YouTube and Patreon, and it took like a fraction of what it used to take with Comcast. Oh, and you'll appreciate this, those of you who understand that Comcast is evil. David went to try to cancel our Comcast account yesterday, and there was so much sludge, if you're familiar with the term sludge, which is pretty much where companies make it very hard to do things that they don't want you to do. They make it very easy to sign up, but they make it very hard to cancel, that kind of thing. And there was so much sludge that in order to cancel Comcast, you have to agree to have them call you the next day. Like, you can't do it online. You cannot cancel your account. Nope, no cool place to walk. We stay to the shade as much as we can, Pendrake, but there are stretches in the sun. I don't know about a short walk. I could do a shorter walk with her today because she got a run this morning playing with her dog friend Strider. But she's still a Kiki and she still likes getting out, so I'll see. Tomorrow she'll get a run at the ocean, so she won't get walks probably. Yeah, you probably won't get walks tomorrow, Bubba. You want to say hi? Yeah, you want to say hi? Where's my bubs? Oh, hi. Hi. Hi, Keekers. Are you here? You're putting your head on the wrong side again. You're putting the head on the wrong side. It's not supposed to be over here. It's supposed to be up here saying hi. Where are you? Kiki. Oh, there's my girl. There's my girl. You're too lazy to get up on my knee. Are you too lazy? Are you a lazy dog? Did you get lots of run-ins this morning? Did you get lots of run-ins? Are you a sleepy Kiki? Sleepster? Hi. What's up, Fuzzy? Hi. Oh, Fuzzer. Hi. She just wants to stay on the floor today. Comcast is the worst. Yeah, they're thieves. I agree, Togele. Yeah. Yep. That's what David's like. He's like, they better not send me to collections because he's got a lawyer dad and he's not afraid to use it. Yeah, Bubba. Having grown up in a family with his dad's a lawyer and his mom worked in a legal office for 30 years. David is very, very conscious of what is actually like skirting the law, and he is not afraid to bring that bat to bear. He would rather not, but he's very unlike a lot of people. He is conscious of, oh, you have stepped over the line here. Let me threaten you with litigation and see what happens. Oh yeah, Nara. Oof. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But it just like it's how screwed up the system is, right? Screwed up the world is that companies can do that sludge thing and make it super hard for you to cancel a service you don't want anymore. Like that crap needs to like get in front of Congress, in my opinion. That sludge thing. Except then you have to figure out how do you define it, right? Although it should be easy to define. It's like all companies should have an option to easily cancel their service, visible on their website with a minimum of 1 click. Like, that's pretty easy. Except, you know what? So many companies would fight against it. Would claim that their businesses would be hurt. Oh, no, we can't hurt business, folks. Jeez. Ah, well. It is what it is. We'll hope that it eventually becomes something else. But yes, Comcast is evil, so David is getting a call from them today. I should actually text him and remind him because he's probably forgotten, and I don't want him to miss it. My mom is yowling because she's in Florida right now, and it's awful. What time is your Comcast call? There. But yeah, the humidity. It's like over 100 degrees in Florida, and the humidity, of course, is brutal. So, Mom is not thrilled. Oh, Sirius was almost as bad. Yep. 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 Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And see, that to me is just unreasonable. Like War Shadow, that sort of thing tends to like really trigger me. Although I tell you, having experienced this firsthand, when you burst into tears in front of their representative, you get expedited pretty fast. There was one because in my younger, more tender days, I would just, and it was also just like I'd had a really bad month before the meeting with this person, this company. But yeah, like their guy was really pushy and not listening to me, and it just got to the point where I just honestly burst into tears in front of him. And he stood up, walked out. His superior came in. We quietly conducted the rest of my business, and I left. So if any of you, run up against this, feel free to burst into tears. Practice your crying skills. Yeah. Yeah, when there's no tools to like fight stuff, right? Yeah. And we're still under that stuff that says that the business losing money is more, or the business being stable is more important than the consumer's experience. That's sadly still a lot of the actual what's getting in the way. And they would argue, the argument and the law, if the business is losing money and prices have to go up for consumers, then that's bad, right? But they seem to like think that prices is like the only thing that matters. Economics is weird. Like, they've only recently acknowledged that we aren't perfect human beings in economics, okay? Yay, cool, Hutch. I have one little termagant. I started like putting a trial paint scheme. I started blocking in some color on my little termagant. But I'm going to try 3 other color schemes as well. So, but I really don't like to assemble everything before I paint because it overwhelms me. Like, to see all those unpainted models like totally destroys my mental. It's just the way I am. So I'm going to be painting my Tyranids very slowly, but I'm going to have fun. And that's the important thing. By the time I finally have like a decent number of points assembled, maybe I'll have found somebody to play with. Yeah, that's true. All right, so I'm putting another quick coat of just a base on my black, and then I'm gonna mix a highlight. We'll see how much time we have. We're getting to the end of stream. I wanted to get a little bit of a highlight on this, the blue liner. Because right now you'll notice it looks like black. It does not look like blue. And that's the great thing about blue liner. You can use it as a base for black when you need a blue-gray highlight. Yeah, I think just a little bit more. I also feel like I did not get in focus very well here. There. I reward myself with doing stuff, no matter how far I get, Turgeon. I reward myself in the evenings by letting myself do painting or knitting. I used to be very bad about workaholicing, where I would just keep working and working and working. And I already pulled that, as you know, like hitting the deadline for finishing the book, where I pulled that like straight 8-hour writing day, which was just like blew out my brain and my energy level. All right, let's do a little quick highlight. I'm going to take some blue liner and I'm going to mix some white into it. Yeah, it's nice, Shiver Moon, yeah. Yeah, that's fair, random user. I miss playing Warhammer. And I love Tyranids. They were my first army. So I'm like, now that they're finally new NIDs, that's why I bought the box, for the NIDs. I'll probably find somebody to foist the Space Marines off on if David decides that he just doesn't need them, which he's not thrilled with them. Like, the Librarian, I think, is the standout, but he just wasn't as into them. But yeah, I pointed out that they'll make great bits for his Golden Demon entries for conversions and weapon swaps and stuff, so. And they were pretty much free, considering everything you get in that box. And you just factor in the big models in the book alone, and everything else pretty much is free. But yeah, I really like the NIDs. They're good. They're good sculpts. Good models. Very happy. So now I just need an army book so I can plan my point values. The new Terminators are big. I think because the Primaris Marines were so huge and really went over really well, I think they wanted to scale up the Termies because the Termies look small. And you don't want your Terminators to look small. Oh, nice. Nice, Zachariah. If you have any Space Wolf bits you don't need, David is in the market. He wants to, I think if he does anything with these models, he wants to do Space Wolf. Because he's come around to my way of thinking. The Wolves are the only decent Space Marine chapter. So put a little bit of a blue-gray, and this is the color that blue liner plus white makes. So it's a gray, but it's a blue-gray. So it makes a nice change from a straight-up gray. Gonna get the top part of this leather. So now we bring up that. Now you get to see more of that bluish. And because I want to keep this leather dark, I won't be doing very much highlighting, and I will be doing a lot of like just little white highlight. I don't mind making with black leather, I tend to like to make it shinier because it lets you highlight it. It lets you highlight it just with short, sharp bursts, and then you can keep it black. It doesn't look too light. I'm putting a little bit of light on one of these where they cross, where the one stripe crosses over another, lets you separate those. But remember, you've got to keep most of the area black if you want it to stay looking black. So keep your highlights very small. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine if you don't have any. I just figured I'd ask. David's capable of going on eBay and getting his own wolf bits. So I wonder if I still have some wolf bits. I used to have them, but man, I got rid of so much before I moved because I just couldn't carry it all out, and there was no room for it out here at that time in the apartment. So I feel like I got rid of all my Space Wolf stuff. I kept my bare minimum of Eldar, just the few models that I actually had painted, and the makeup of those units. And I think I got rid of everything else. So just a little bit of that blue up there, make it look nice. Blue liner tends to look nice with greens. When you keep it, it just gives you more of that cute, cool color scheme. On a 28 scale, I don't remember. Pendrake. But I can't count GW as a 28 millimeter. They've got scale creep like everybody else. I mean, my little Tyrannid here. What are you, little guy? He is. Even the little Tyrannid, he's not even standing up on his hind paws. And he's still 27. Like 27 millimeter. Like that is like 28 millimeter is small. Yeah, I don't have one built. Sorry, Pendrick, I can't tell you. Because the Termes, yeah, the Termes are supposed to be tall, and then the Primaris Marines are really tall, and it all just kind of blurs together in my little head. Oh, it's 11. Okay. Usually Warhammer's 32 these days? Alright. Yeah, I'd have to, like, look at a Space Marine. I don't... Oh, wait, I do. Wait, I have a Space Marine. Yay! Here we go. Alright. No, this is big. I can just tell. Okay, this is big, guys. It's the right scale. Like, the Termi is the right scale next to the Marine. But... got dusty. Hold on. Let's actually measure. I'm going to say 40 mil. Yep. 40 millimeter. Regular Space Marine. Yep, this is not one in the Leviathan box, but this is the latest iteration of Space Marines, I believe, from one of David's boxes. Yeah, so this is definitely not, like, this is, yeah, just under 40. Like, if we really put it out, it's like, yeah, 38.5, 39, somewhere around there. I took one look at it, and it's like, it's crazy, though, how, you know, as I get older, I'm like, oh, it's 28 mil, and then I'm like, no, wait. Like, it's to the point, when you look at a 54 millimeter model, it doesn't look big anymore. I think that's why we're seeing more 72s than 54s. Like, 54s have gone out of style. They're like, the regular models are that big now. But yeah, that's a newer Space Marine, so I just remember Dad was using that to show the difference between... Hey, this is an ad for my Patreon. I did a series where I showed how you would vary it up for regular highlighting versus, like, metallic highlighting. Like, how the highlights change. If you're going to do, like, a metallic effect blue. There was a PDF on that a while ago. I think it was last year. But yeah, I thought Space Marine is a good one to do that on because it gives you those different, like, cylindrical and round surfaces. It's a good test subject for that. All right. Yeah, I'm pretty much the end. I need to do another highlight on the blue-gray. I'm going to put down that I put blue liner leather, and nut brown and Kraken ink leather. My card is getting really full because I'm using a lot of colors that I don't normally use. We're going to go nut brown plus Kraken ink. But yeah, I have a lot of editing to do today. I have one more Patreon video that I have to get out by tonight, as it's the last day in the month. And then this is leather straps. There we go. Yep, sure, Slayer. It's nice to hang with you. Yeah, True 28 just feels so small. True 25 feels tiny. Boop. So our card has a lot of stuff. This is a very full card because I've been using a lot of colors that I don't normally use on him. Oh, John is out of town. No Reaper land. Reaper's just slacking this week. Oh, compare the Elf and the Space Marine. One sec. Let me get my Space Marine. The Elf is shorter. And less chonky. So actually the Elf is about the scale of like an Imperial Guardsman, I think, versus a Space Marine. Sorry, I should be doing it this way so they're fighting. Don't bring a sword to a gunfight, Mr. Elf. But yeah, so significant. But yeah, I think that this is more the Imperial Guard scale. Normal humans. Keep in mind, Space Marines are not supposed to be normal humans. So we're about 32. Yeah, so that's cool. I mean, 32 mil. For me, this is a nice scale to paint. Like, this is a good size. I mean, my Termagant is about the same kind of size, right? And I like, it's big enough that you can hit everything. You know, you're able to have parts to have nice detail without being too fine to paint. So yeah. Yeah, Primaris is supposed to be bigger though, right? So let's give them credit, at least that was a rationale for that one. Everything else is scale creep, but the Primaris were intentional. Yep. You have a good weekend too, Surgeon. I'm gonna just be trying to finish the edit on this book, and like this is kind of the edit where you like polish off the edges on the Frankenstein of the first cobble together. So I'm like, hopefully it'll be in a decent enough shape. But yeah, so there we go, guys. I'm glad that we got this chance to hang out. I will be on Monday, but remember, 4th of July means no stream on Tuesday, and I will be back Wednesday, but then Thursday we're leaving for Seattle, so that ain't happening. So on Monday, we'll be back to the Musling. We'll get his shirt and his jacket, because we finished his leather hat, and now we're down to that. He's coming up. He's like almost there. Like his leather ended up looking nice. So Mr. Mouseling is almost complete except for basing. So we'll work on the shirt and the coat and some weathering to make him a little dirtier on Monday. And then on Wednesday, we're back to Jolie before I leave. Yep. Thanks, Inara. Yeah, hopefully Kiki will have fun at the beach. I'm just gonna be slogging along in the name of getting Kiki some proper exercise with dog friends. Alrighty. Except that higher gravity would usually lead to more thick squat builds, I think, Pendrake, and lower gravity to more spindly builds. And they haven't done that, so I'm going to just call it scale creep. Alrighty. Thanks, everybody. I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Yeah, I'm going to assume I won't be streaming tomorrow. If you pop your heads in, I might be on, but we'll see. It really depends on how I feel after we get back. All right? Take care if I don't see you, and I'll see you all Monday. Have a great one.